Um, my name's John Hand. I'm one of the event organizers for the BIC Church Planting Multiplication Summit. And today I'm here with Pastor Ron Bowell at Crossroads BIC in Salina, Kansas. And Pastor Ron is one of our elder statesmen in church planting and has been just been a catalytic leader in church planting in Kansas, and has seen a fruitful movement of church plants, both planting and multiplying through some of Ron's leadership in Kansas. So Ron's one of the presenters at our event in March 11 through 13. So I wanted to give Ron a sense of kind of teaser for what he's going to be sharing with us at the summit. So Ron, what are you excited about for this conference in March?
Hey, it's by the way, I do know I am the older guy here.
That's right.
Maybe the oldest one on site that day. That's fine. You know, the Bible has a lot of good things to say about older saints, and so
That's right. That's right.
I'm really excited to be a part of this, because I tell you what, planting new churches is where it's at. People with vision and a calling to grow the kingdom by reaching new people for Jesus. I can get excited about being around people that have that in their life.
So the other gift I think that you bring to this conference is 2.5 years ago now, you in California, at the biannual conference, you laid out a story of the formation of church planting, and as it applied to the original group that went to Kansas from Pennsylvania, that went on to California, and then kind of the renewal movement that you're experiencing in Kansas. Can you give us, can you condense in a minute or two what has been the history of church planting within the BIC?
Early on, I think the Brethren in Christ grew by biological growth. They were family oriented. They grew as a church because their families grew, and later they got into what I would call migration or colonization. Groups out of Pennsylvania began to hive off. Some came to Kansas, some went to Canada, probably to Ohio, and then later on, some ended up in California. We planted churches in Oklahoma that way. At the beginning of the 20th century, we had the World Missions, the big conference here in Kansas where the World Missions was funded. And I think that began to stimulate some of the folks to say, we should be doing that here as well as across the ocean. And so, at least here in Kansas, the Sunday school movement kind of grabbed a hold of some of the brethren. And there were several churches started here in Kansas as what they called extension Sunday schools. And it could well be that went on other places too. And that was a big time of growth of the church here in Kansas. They grew to, they had 11 churches at one point right here in Kansas. And then I think in the 30s and 40s we stagnated in a lot of different ways, but in the 1950s the Brethren in Christ hooked up with the National Association of Evangelicals, and they began to adopt some of those church planting methods that they had heard about. You would choose a neighborhood, build a building, you would support a pastor, and some of today's Brethren in Christ churches started that way. It was a plan, and it worked. It worked through the 70s, and I think, and then in the 80s, telemarketing kind of caught hold. Programs like the Phones for You were employed. In fact, even 15 years ago, we started Crossroads Church here with a telemarketing campaign, and it worked exactly as they said. Now, I don't know that they work as good anymore with cell phones. We don't have, we don't have the listings that we used to have. I think we also began to see the wisdom as time went on of planting churches in clusters where communities can develop. Multiplication is a key word today. Churches planting churches, cell groups multiplying and hiving off. I think we're into that nowadays, and so there's a decreased emphasis on buildings, more emphasis on relationships. If you talk to Jeff People, who planted Revolution Church here, he'll tell you one of the greatest needs of his generation is real relationships.
Yep.
Because they've been fragmented by family breakup and by the culture.
Yep.
So I see, there are assets and there are liabilities in all these methods. And frankly, every one of these methods would still work today, I think. Some of them are going to work better than others, and so hopefully we'll be able to figure that out together.
Yeah.
Planning churches is hard work, and it's brutal. I know this may not be the good format for it, but I always tell my guys that are interested in planning churches that they have to watch the first 30 minutes of Saving Private Ryan.
That's right.
It's what it's like to take a new beachhead, and you're going to get shot at spiritually and hurt, and so you got to be tough, and you got to make sure your calling is there. So I'm excited to, maybe somebody will feel the call stronger, or even helpfully, maybe they'll say, you know what, maybe I'm not called to this, and they won't make a mistake and waste years of their life doing something they're not really cut out for.
Yeah. Well, hey, thanks for giving us some time, helping us to get a sense of what you're bringing to this summit, and we look forward to seeing you in March and see what God will do as we gather and dream together what the future holds. Thanks, Ron.
Bye.